So it was here coming back to do my graduate career that I got involved with this Engineers Without Borders and working with El Salvador. So this project really briefly was a wastewater infrastructure project. So the problem here, you can see this water flowing down through the streets. That's actually wastewater, so they're gray water, the water they use for cleaning, cleaning themselves, laundry, washing their food, and cooking. So it's just discarded into the streets, and when it becomes stagnant, it causes a health problem. So this is the problem we were trying to solve, and through that, we had construction management projects, education, microbial projects, wastewater treatment plan assessment, and bridge design and construction. So we had this wide array of engineering disciplines covered. So it was really important that we had technical people that could speak the language and interact. I wish I was more of one of them, but I had the technical expertise and I could get around kind of on a general basis with my Spanish. So obviously this is pretty self-explanatory, but one of the things I learned down there over my 4 trips was definitely enhanced language skills mean more interaction and involvement. I wish it was better. I worked on it a lot. I got a little bit better, but this picture here I think explains it a lot. So this is me here in the background. This guy's name in the wheelchair is Don Miguel. Don Miguel was the community leader for one of these communities. So during this trip, I had designed this collection system with a couple other people, but I was the project manager, and he's not talking to me. I wish he was, but he's talking to my friend Eric, because Eric's Spanish was much better than mine, and he would start talking to me, and then I would go and look at Eric because I wanted to make sure I would understand, and then he would just turn to Eric and start talking to him. Because I always felt left out, but I usually understood everything that was going on. But then at my last trip, this is me, and here's Norm Dahl. He's one of the faculty advisors, and here's our friend Juan. He's a local. We went down there, and it was during this time, about half an hour to 45 minutes, it was myself, Norm, and Juan walking around, and I was the translator, so I felt great at this point. And it was great because Juan was a master's student. I was learning all about the different engineering projects he had going on. It created a great collaborative relationship between him. And this is probably the time when I felt I most used my Spanish skills at essentially to make everything understood. And then just a few other pictures that show kind of the teamwork that we had going down there. We're working on essentially just right in the mix of working with all these different people from El Salvador. And you just get a really good appreciation for how engineering projects are done and then being able to communicate with them on their basis. So some reflections from what I've experienced. Any international experience has been valuable, from the enhanced communication and collaborative skills to gaining an understanding of these diverse cultures, and definitely this increased patience and sensitivity. So when I came back from Sweden, when I was interacting with other foreign exchange students in the US, I had an appreciation for how hard it can be to communicate and how much they need that sensitivity to communicate with the native people. And then my international experience in El Salvador is incredibly unique. Eileen will talk a lot about it too. But essentially there's a lot fewer English speakers, obviously because there's a lot fewer educated people. So you have much greater interactions and you need to rely a lot more on your language skills. Then this appreciation for the amenities we have was really strong, just going down there and finding what they don't have and what we do have. And then I think it allows you to develop this engineering intuition and creativity where essentially you can look at these different problems that are so simple to solve here but might be very difficult there and essentially get hands-on experience and have to be creative with what you're doing to be able to work with the community members down there and solve the problems. So at this point, I believe language is of incredibly valuable use in engineering, but I think it's a little dependent on your career path too. I'm more in academics right now, more of a research role, and I would definitely say in that English dominates, just because we're in a field that's becoming very international, and people from all over the world want to publish in English to be known in an international research community. So that's what I've kind of noticed, because unless I'm in El Salvador working on Engineers Without Borders, I haven't really been using it too much. But I would say in industry is much more of where it's being used today. I have a number of friends who are out in the field working on projects, and engineering is becoming incredibly international and interdisciplinary. So people have opportunities to go travel all around the world and work on a number of different projects, and the language skills are much more, I feel, much more valuable in the practice community than in academics. But then again, I have the opportunity in academics to get involved with Engineers Without Borders and do a lot of interesting things, so it's been incredibly valuable to me. This is just my opinion, but some future languages needs in engineering, obviously any language in a developing country is of great need because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We have a number of our past friends from Engineers Without Borders who are now in Peace Corps overseas, but definitely Chinese, Spanish, Arabic. I think those are some of the big languages moving on to the future that a lot of engineering will need to be able to communicate in those languages. So just some last words, I guess, from my experience. I go international and gain experience. I've been interviewing recently for academic positions, and in every one of my job interviews, I didn't bring it up. My international experience was brought up to me. They wanted to talk about how I learned abroad and how I was essentially gained experience and brought it back and how it shaped me as an engineer. So as I mentioned, engineering, I think, is becoming increasingly interdisciplinary and multicultural. So any way that you can broaden yourself and diversify yourself and your skill set is an advantage to yourself moving forward. And then from my perspective, I'm a geological engineer. I have a lot of involvement with civil and environmental engineering, and I think if you're going to go into this career path and you want to do international work, there's any number of opportunities that you can get. So you can definitely anticipate international opportunities in either one of these career paths. So I'd like to thank you.